And the river is, oh my
God!
God!
Oh no!
Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to the vlog. That behind me is the setup for the best Bet Jacksonville live stream. We're back to play the 2-2 deep stack, $500 buy-in. A lot less nerves this time, now that I know what to expect. So looking to go in there, run it up, and have a good time. If you enjoy, like and subscribe. Let's get to it. Let me start off by talking about the hospitality I always receive when I go up to Best Bet Jacksonville. Ryan, who runs the stream, really supports vloggers, and he's from production, so he gets how much work it takes to make these episodes. Right before the stream started, he gave me a Best Bet jacket, which you're going to see me wearing all night, and that was just really awesome. Also, he plugged the channel all throughout the stream, so I can't thank Ryan enough.
Returning to the live stream. He was here a couple months ago, but he's back on today. Andy in the 2-seat there. Of course, runs a YouTube vlog. 7-card flush poker.
In the first hand of the night, and it's the 5th hand of the stream, there's a button straddle. We see 2 calls before the action folds to me in the cutoff, and I have pocket 10s. A raise seems pretty standard here, so I bump it up to $20. We see a call from the straddler, and both limpers call as well, so we're off to a flop 4 ways. The flop is King 8-6 Rainbow. The action checks to me, and I can't be scared of the king. Just because it's out there doesn't mean somebody has to have it. Plus, I don't want to check and allow the button to represent it, so I fire for $55. Unfortunately, as you can see, no one has a piece of this board, so they all fold, but we win this first hand.
That bet's going to take it down.
The very next hand, we see an open from +1 to $16. Then we see a call from Ken in +2. On me, and I've got a pretty good hand here with King-Queen offsuit. I definitely don't want to flat and allow the cutoff or the button to squeeze. Perhaps if I 3-bet and I get called by +1 and +2, I can at least have position on them. Plus, I've got to thin the field a little bit, so I 3-bet to $65. It folds back to the original Razor Rhino, who has ace-queen off, so I'm actually pretty crushed here. He doesn't think too long, and then he folds. Perhaps my 3-bet was just screaming strength and he didn't want to get into a flip situation with his cards. I don't know, but that one worked out. On to Ken, and he has other ideas. He jams for 136 total. I was afraid this might happen because of his stack size, and I know it's early, but Ken hasn't folded yet today on the stream, so he doesn't have to be strong here. Getting 3-to-1 pot odds, I make the call, and I see we're live, but we're definitely not favored. The board runs out, I don't improve, and Ken will take this one.
Ace still in a lead, and Ace is going to get it done.
There's another button straddle. We see the small blind complete before I look down in the big blind at pocket jiggities. A raise is in order here, and I go 4x to $16. It folds to Zach in the cutoff, who makes the call. The straddler calls with suited gappers, and the small blind calls as well, so we're off to a flop 4 ways. The flop is Ace-King-4 with 2 clubs. I don't love the overs there. It checks to me, I check, and it actually checks around. The turn is a 2 of spades, and once again I check, and it checks over to Zach in the cutoff, who fires for $37.
Now if you're Andy here, curious what you're thinking about here if you're Andy.
So, what am I thinking? Zach has been talking about playing in the 2-5 $25 big blind ante game, so he's obviously a very competent guy here. And while he can definitely have a face card here, he could also bet like this with an underpair, like 8s through 10s. I think my hand is a little bit too strong to fold to one single bet, so I call to see a river.
But he is going to make the call.
The river is a 10 of clubs. It's the grossest card, as every draw in the world gets there, and now 10s makes a set. I check, prepared to fold to a bet. However, Zach checks behind and we win this one. I still think Brad Owen's right though. There's no right way to play pocket jiggities. About 40 minutes into the stream, Ken got knocked out, and then we go through this weird musical chairs where no one can really figure out where they want to sit. One guy moved 3 times in a 5-minute span. I personally like my seat, so I'm going to stay right where I am. In the next hand of the night, about an hour into the stream, we see a raise from Zach and +1 to $20. It folds to me in the cutoff, and we look down at Ace-King offsuit. Standard 3-bet spot here, so I re-raise to $65. It folds back to Zach, who calls, so we go to a flop heads up. The flop is queen 6-9 with 2 spades. Zach starts with a check. With 2 overs and some backdoor straight and flush draws, I think a check here is fine. There's been a handful of hands where I've won small pots using aggression, and I haven't had to show any losing hands since the king-queen, so I think a c-bet is also fine. However, I make a mistake and I bet huge, $115 into a pot of 135. I would never bet a hand like an overpair or a set like this. I'd go much smaller. And I think Zach may have figured that out, and he calls, so I'm ready to just shut down on the turn. That is until the turn is the ace of spades, maybe the best card in the deck, giving me top pair and the nut flush draw. I've got 325 in my stack, which is less than a pot size bet, so I just rip it. Maybe I should bet small there to price in draws. However, people get squirrely on these live streams, so maybe he finds the call here with some sort of combo draw, like a pair and a flush draw. Unfortunately, we can see that's not the case here, and Zach folds. Taking a look at the stats an hour in, and I'm up about $170, and our VPIP is at 31%. Last time I played on the stream, it was in the mid-20s, so I definitely wanted to get it a little higher this stream, and so far we've done that. In this next hand, there is an under-the-gun straddle. We're in +1, and we look down at pocket queens. I start by bumping it up to $16.
Andy with the ladies.
Uh-oh. Potential content for the vlog.
It folds to Waldo on the button, and it's funny because Waldo said everybody calls him PC Principal after the South Park character, and he does kind of look like him. He wakes up with ace-jack here, and he 3-bets to $55. Thinking ahead, I think there's merit to raising or flatting. Being out of position, I can definitely re-raise, but I can also flat so I don't scare out hands exactly like ace-jack. A decent hand, but much less valuable against a 5-bet. So I'm leaning towards a call when Aaron in the under-the-gun straddle calls. So now at this point with an additional player, I think I have to raise, and so I'm going to go big here so we can get stacks in on a good flop, and I size up to $225. Back on Waldo, who doesn't seem comfortable here, and he's probably now thinking this isn't the best hand, and he ends up folding. Back on Aaron, who has ace-queen here and a VPIP of like 50% so far, but he very quickly folds. However, $120 coming to me without having to see a flop.
If you could get $110 without seeing a flop on a 2-2 game,
That's pretty good.
that's pretty good.
You're okay.
Yeah.
There's a button straddle, and we see the small blind, the big blind, and under the gun all complete before the action gets to me in +1. I look down at Jack 10 offsuit. This is one of those hands I haven't figured out how to play properly yet, but on a stream, I think I just have to play it how I think the pros would do it, so I bump it up to $20. Surprisingly, it folds all the way back around to Aaron, and he'll give me some action. He calls, we're off to a flop heads up. The flop is Jack 10-5 rainbow, so we flop top 2 here. Aaron starts with a check, and I decided to throw a bet of $15 out to build a pot, and Aaron insta-calls, so we're off to the turn. The turn is a 3 of hearts, and once again Aaron checks, and so I'm going to fire again, and this time I fire for $55, about 2/3 pot. As we can see, Aaron has not improved, and perhaps I should have just checked, but Aaron isn't done yet. He calls again, so we're off to the river. The river is a queen of spades, so ace-king gets there, as does king-9 and 8-9. Aaron checks a 3rd time, and so I decide to go for one more street of value, and I bet $85. But Aaron snap folds, and we win this one. 2 hours in, and we're up almost $380, so we're continuing to climb, and the VPIP is holding steady at 31%. Kind of crazy that 31% is the second tightest of the table. Just shows how much action there is. A little over 2 hours in, there's a button straddle. It folds to me, and we look down at 9-10 offsuit. I'm out of position, so I need to bump it up, and so I raise to $20. We see calls from the cutoff, and Zach on the button, so we're off to a flop 3 ways. The flop is Queen 7-8 rainbow, so we flop an open-ended straight draw. I start with a check, and it checks to the button who bets $40. On me, and I'm going to use my tight image as a guy who hasn't gotten out of line and shown a lot of winning hands off to put pressure on a weak queen, and so I raise to $120. It folds back to the button who has Queen-Jack. Probably not one of those hands that's going to fold, unless he's really buying the story I'm telling. After some thought, he ends up folding, and we get the bluff through.
Zach will go ahead and fold. Andy's going to take down another one. Strong move, check raise.
In the next hand of the night, there's an under-the-gun straddle. It folds all the way around to Aaron and the hijack who makes the call. On me in the cutoff, and I look down at King Queen of Hearts, so a raise is in order here. I bump it up to $20. It folds to the button who makes the call, as does the straddler and Aaron as well, so we're off to a flop 4 ways. The flop is King 6-6 with 2 clubs, so a pretty decent flop here. Aaron decides to lead into us for 40 bucks. I see merits to both raising and calling. Raising can thin the field a little bit, but if Aaron were to come back over the top, I wouldn't be happy with it being a paired and a flush draw board, so I elect to just call and evaluate the turn. Action on Will, who pretty much missed everything, but he gives it a lot of thought before folding. Waldo folds as well, so we're heads up in position. The turn is the ace of diamonds, so not a great card for me, but it's a decent card for my range being the pre-flop raiser. Aaron bets again for $75. I think the ace is a great card for either one of us to bluff on. If I were on the nut flush draw, I've now turned 2 pair, and perhaps he's thinking the exact same thing, so I decide to go ahead and raise and represent, and I bump it up to $180. Aaron gives it some thought before calling, and when he does, it has me thinking he could definitely have something like a 6 or maybe the ace of clubs in his hand, so we're going to have to proceed cautiously on the river. The river is an 8 of hearts. It's a total blank. Aaron slows down and checks here. I don't think I should bet, as I'm only getting called by better, so I check behind. We show here, and we win. Aaron shows us his busted flush draw.
Kind of curious to see how he's going to break down this one.
There you go, Ryan. There was your explanation. About 3 hours in, we're playing a $10 bomb pot, and I want to preface that right before this was the slow roll of the century. I'm not going to put it in the vlog, but you can go back and watch the feed. It was gross. So, the slow roll kind of had the commentary team a little bit distracted during this hand. The flop is 5-6-9 with 2 spades. The action's on us, and we look down at 7-8. Yup, we flopped it. I start with a check, and it checks to Dan and +1 who bets $65, over 3/4 pot. It folds to Aaron on the button, and he flats. It's on me, and I don't know what to do. There's multiple straight draws, though I do block most of them, and a flush draw as well. Plus, being a bomb pot, there could be 2-pair hands, there could be set hands. I think if I want to try to get max value, I probably just flat here, but any 4, 7, 8, 10, or spade, and I'm going to start hating life, so I decide to put the raise in to $210. It folds back to Dan, and he doesn't look comfortable. He kind of gives a grimace, and then he folds his cards. Action back on Aaron, and he folds pretty quickly. As we can see, Dan folded pocket 10s, and there was only 1 spade out there between all of us, so a call definitely would have worked better here, but I'll take the win. We're straddling from the button, and we look down at Jack 5 of spades. We see the small blind open for $20. PC Principal and +1 calls, then Zach in the cutoff calls. When the action's on me, I'm going to defend my straddle, so we're off to a flop in position 4 ways. The flop is Jack 9-5 with 2 clubs, so we flop a disguised 2 pair. Will in the small blind bets out for $25 with top pair. The action's on PC Principal, and then he raises to $80. He has absolute air. Action on me, and I've had my foot on the gas all night. I'm not 100% sure that I have the best hand here, and I'm not going to try to get cute while playing it. I re-raised to $250. The graphics say $275, but it was $250. Will quickly folds his top pair, and it's back on PC. Obviously, I thought he was a little stronger than he was, and he folds pretty quickly, so we win another one here. I show the 5 to pique some people's curiosity. There's a button straddle. We're in the small blind, and we look down at 8-9 of clubs. I love suited connectors like this. I open for $16. It folds to Dan and +1 who makes the call. PC gets in there with the suited ace, and Zach in the cutoff calls with King Jack of clubs. And at this point, Aaron can't afford to fold a suited gapper here, so we're off to a flop out of position 5 ways. The flop is Queen 10-6 rainbow, so I flopped a double gutter with a backdoor flush draw. I check it over to Dan, who bets his top 2 for $35. It folds to Zach in the cutoff, who calls with his open-ended straight draw. Aaron folds, and it's back on me. No need to raise. I'm just going to flat here with a plan. There's so many cards that I can continue on, so I just make the call. We're off to the turn. The turn is an ace of clubs. It's one of those cards I wanted to continue on.
It also gives Andy the flush draw that Zach also has.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
Wow.
This is going to get brutal.
Oh, oh.
If another club comes out,
Oh.
And Dan, now, again, he's in here with 2 pair that he flopped.
And he thinks he's good.
And he still thinks he's good.
Oh, it's sunny. 3-man.
Oh, no.
3-man.
He was trying to put the LSD in his...
And for Andy here, drawing
Darker than
dead
the
with
Yeah.
his flush draw.
And he doesn't even know it. This is like the worst spot for him because he still has the double gutter straight
He
draw
does
too.
as well, yeah.
Like I wouldn't be surprised if he raised here.
Yep,
And
and
there-
that's
yeah.
look like exactly what he's doing.
In his mind, he's got 17 outs.
Yeah, he does.
So, Tim's right. I think that the ace of clubs is a money card for me. I think I'm drawing to like 40% of the deck, and at least one of my draws is good, so I do raise to $285. On Dan, and he's just in a gross spot. It's only $180 to call to win 680, so he's getting a really good price, but perhaps I've convinced him I actually have a hand like King Jack of Clubs or a better 2-pair with Ace X. He actually makes a really good fold here. It's on Zach now, sitting there with the nuts, and he shoves all in for about $600 total. What a gross spot, but you can't fold here.
I knew that's what Zach was going to do.
Yeah.
Andy, I can't fold.
I don't
if
think.
I'm
Yeah,
Andy.
I don't think he can get away.
There's way too many outs for him to make him think he's going to win.
There's too many outs. 330 to call to win 11, almost 1,200 in the middle now. Like 1 to 4 odds.
No one would pick it up.
Yeah, this is tough. Oh, Andy.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a little over $300 more to win 1,200, and surely one of my draws has to be good.
And you want to say no, but you know it's going to
The
happen.
river is an 8 of hearts. No way second pair is going to be good here, and we see the bad news and realize we were dead on the turn. Zach gets a big one here. Once again, it's bomb pot time, and we go straight to a flop of 6-6 deuce rainbow. It checks all the way around to Aaron, who fires for $25. I look down at 10-6 offsuit. I decide to just flat, and PC comes along as well, so we're going off to a turn 3 ways. The turn is a 3 of diamonds. It doesn't change much. It checks to Aaron, who fires again for $50 this time. It's on me, and I'm honestly not sure where Aaron is at here. I realize there's a chance I may be behind to a stronger 6, but he could also have a weaker 6, or maybe something like an overpair. The board could also pair again, and then kickers won't even be relevant. I think the correct play is a call here, but again, foot's been on the gas pedal all night. Let's represent strength. I bump it up to $175. PC quickly gets out of the way, and you can see in Aaron's body language that he doesn't like the raise.
He's like, what is this?
Perhaps it's actually a weaker 6 than mine who can't figure out how to fold here. He eventually makes the call, so maybe I do need some help on the river.
So
Yeah,
he's not going to
4,
do anything.
half 4, 5.
He's not going to do anything until he sees the river.
And the river is, oh my
God!
God.
Oh no!
Wow, 6s, 4, 10s for Andy.
Aaron checks, and now I have to figure out how to get value from a worse 6. There's about $500 in the middle. I don't think a polarizing size works here, as it's much harder to successfully bluff and bomb pots. I could go super light, like 1/3 pot. I settle on a size of 285, a little over half pot. Aaron can't believe the spot he's in, but he's smart enough to realize the trips aren't going to be any good here, and he folds.
Wow, 6s, 4, 10s.
There's an under the gun straddle. It folds to us in the low jack, and we look down at ace-10 offsuit. I bump it up to $20. Will in the hijack calls, as does PC in the small blind. The big blind and under the gun come along as well, so we're off to a flop 5 ways.
5 players, I assume? Yeah. Whoa, my goodness. That looks like a flop full house for Andy, which does give Will 2 pair. Zach a straight draw.
It checks to me, and I start with a small bet of $15. My thought process was to induce a raise and build the pot. The only problem with that move is if I do get raised, it may fold out other hands like draws. I end up getting a raise from the cutoff. He bumps it up to $90. Shouldn't be much of a surprise when it folds back to me. I decide to just flat here, and we're off to a turn. The turn is a 9 of diamonds. It's a really juicy card as it brings in a diamond draw. I check to Will, who has about $500 in his stack, and he fires a bet of $200. I'll let you watch and listen.
I think he has the best hand. Oh, that was Andy, that was too quick of an all-in. Now you're giving Will a reason to fold. Yeah, no, I like a call there. Definitely just calling after that bet.
Now, allow me to explain. When Will raises me on the flop, he either has a 10 or a really strong ace. And when he fires the turn, I'm actually pretty sure it's a 10. I'm convinced it's trips. He already invested $310 of a $615 stack, so he's already put half his stack in. I don't think he's going to be able to fold for $300 more here. Additionally, players who act very quickly are trying to represent strength, usually when they're weak, so by acting so fast, maybe I can convince him that I'm actually weak here. That was my logic behind it. Will doesn't think too long and he calls, and he's drawing dead. We see that Zach had King Jack, so he would have gotten there on the river. So looking back, if I just check the flop there, perhaps I keep Zach in and I get more money, but it's still a $1,300 pot, which I'll take. There was one more spot at the end of the night in a bomb pot where I flopped a double gutter. I took a stab at it for $40 and I got called by +1. A blank turn card went check, check, and then a 10 of clubs on the rivers means that I bricked.
Unless Andy Andy tries to steal it, but...
Yeah, I don't know if Andy will try.
Yeah, no, I mean, he has to because he knows he's not going to win 4 high. Unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately, though, he's going to run into it because Elliot's going to make the call.
Well, he's going to probably raise to like 300 and hope that Andy has something, but little does he know, right after the raise, it's going to be a snap fold.
$481.
Wow.
481.
That's an exact number, 481.
Yeah.
So a bit of a misstep there at the end, and we give a little bit back. However, it was a very fun night playing at Best Bet Jacksonville.
Well, the lights are down behind me, so that wraps things up. I think I played good tonight. I didn't play great, but I think I played good. Obviously, a couple missteps in there, but, you know, that's going to happen. I can't only bet when I have the nuts. I've got to get it in there on some draws, and I've got to have some bluffs in there. And, you know, just didn't go my way, but still a really good night. The hospitality from this place is incredible. Ryan, the guy that runs the stream, just really, he backs vloggers. He's worked in media before, so he knows how much time, you know, these episodes and stuff take. So this was really fun, and I'm really appreciative to him and the whole Best Bet crew. And now I can rock my Best Bet merch. Also want to say a big shout out to BDM Todd. Todd decided to buy a piece of tonight's action, and so it worked out well for him. Into the game for $500, out for $1,095. If you enjoy, like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.
If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel for more poker content. And you can follow me on Instagram at 7cardflushpoker.